Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we will introduce the user account creation journey. Through this journey, users will be able to subscribe to our website with either a basic or a pro plan. We will use Amazon S3 to store user profile images and Stripe to build them if they choose the pro plan. At the very high level, this is how the journey unfolds. Users will click on the basic or pro membership button. The button will result in a GET request to a controller that we have to write. The controller will create an instance of a POJO representing the user information and set it in the model map. And then it will return the name of the view to display to the user, and this view will show a Bootstrap form where users will be able to enter their data. Upon filling their details, users will press the Submit button. This will send a POST request to the same controller that we have just described a moment ago. The controller will then delegate to the service layer the creation of a user record. The service layer, in turn, will delegate to the repository layer, which eventually will write the SQL statements to write the record to the database. Finally, we will display to the user an acknowledgement message that their account has been successfully created, or an error message if an error occurred. For instance, if the username or email they chose had already been taken. As part of this journey, there are a few activities and checks we need to perform. First, we need to check that the username or email that the user chose hasn't been already taken by somebody else. Next, we will create a front-end model object to contain the information that the user filled on the form. This is good architecture practice, and it allows us to keep the backend domain separated from the front-end domain. We won't want all the front-end information to end up in the backend and vice versa. A classical example of this approach relates to credit card numbers. We don't want to store any credit card number information in our database. Instead, we want to store a Stripe customer ID that, in conjunction with the Stripe API, we can use to build a customer. We will see this later on in the course. Because of this separation, we will need to create a utility class that translates between the front-end and the back-end domain in both directions. We will store the user's profile image to Amazon S3, and if the user chose a pro plan, we will also subscribe them to the monthly payment plan that we have set up when creating a Stripe account. Upon subscription, we will again authenticate the user programmatically. You have already seen how to do this in the previous lecture, remember? There will be separate lectures on S3 and Stripe. For now, we will simply create a form that can store basic information and will add capabilities to it later. In the next lecture, we will create the front-end domain model, create the translator between front-end and back-end domain model objects, and write unit tests to validate the translator layer. Thank you for your time, and I see you in the next lecture.